Hey there, and welcome back to the Second Lunch Podcast. Season 2 is well underway. What is this, episode 4?
Yep, says the phone.
Good, we're doing the old bit where we don't remember what episode we're on. Love it. Throwback stuff.
You remembered the season.
Cole, I don't like to talk too much about my reputation. It's kind of a bad boy. Kind of a tough character. But
Real on the fringe.
I did drive in the HOV lane the whole way here for no good reason. There was not that much traffic.
You were here early.
A whole extra 3 minutes, according to the ETA provided by the good folks at Apple. But yesterday I got up to some thieving.
What'd you steal?
I stole some beer.
Was this okay?
It was completely accidental, but it's still cool.
Was this the old bottom of the cart technique, or was it? Oh, whoops, the bottom of the cart.
Yeah, it was the bottom of the cart, sister to the Trojan horse move. I noticed it as I was walking out. I noticed it, and I was like, I'm gonna roll with it. I'm just going to see what happens here.
That's enough plausible deniability. You know what? If these fucking grocery stores don't want to hire any real cashiers, then I'm gonna steal more stuff.
I also had a baby in the cart, so I figured that's gonna throw them off the scent.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if somebody's watching on the cameras, they're not gonna be like, baby guy, or they're gonna be like, baby guy needs that beer. Let's just let him go.
Yeah, he seems like he might be a problem to stop. Could you also, if you have a kid that small, can't you also pin it on the kid? I mean,
oh, she just put it in the cart.
It's like a 24 pack.
30 rack of reindeer in the cart. I don't know what she's thinking, but
I remember working at Ken's Market, and kids sometimes running around. Didn't happen often, but every once in a while it'd be a really little kid and they just like pick up a piece of candy off the shelf and eat it.
Fuck yeah.
I'm just like,
live your life, man.
Yeah,
go for it.
Party.
I like the way you live.
And also, look at the teenager behind the counter. That's just that baby analyzed the situation, goes, I think this guy's cool with it. Yeah. I think I can get away with this one.
Yeah, the teenager's like, you should have taken the king size.
Exactly. You grabbed an Idaho Spud. Are you nuts? Necco wafers? Are you kidding me?
It's funny, when we were sitting in line, Kendall was literally, she's obviously at the perfect height to grab shit off that little rack at the checkout. So yeah, she's doing exactly that. She's just grabbing everything. Thank God she hasn't grasped opening stuff yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that could have been a nightmare.
Yeah, because I never wanted to, obviously not yell at a kid or anything, but even don't really want to intervene and be like, don't do that, because then somebody might get upset that you're telling them how to parent or whatever.
Snitch and go get their mom.
No, hell no.
Or dad.
I think the only time I would probably intervene is if somebody had a peanut butter cup and I'm like, oh, I don't know what your health issues are.
Oh, I thought you were gonna ask for a ransom.
Also valid. Yeah. Also valid.
Give me one of those. I won't tell.
We had these candies that were effectively high dollar York peppermint patties, and they would come in the loose
There's
foil,
something even fancier than a peppermint patty. A York.
Yeah, it's more chocolate content.
Is it a New York peppermint patty?
But this was Ken's, and it was a $2 thing. And yeah, you just look for one with a little bit of foil exposed. Can't sell that to a customer. Might be could poison them.
So the other day, Kendall said, and I quote, "I love you. You're my best friend," to me. I completely melted. It was the greatest moment.
How'd you top Elmo? How'd you dethrone him?
Well, hold on. There's more. Later that day, Mom comes home. "I love you. You're my best friend," to Mom. So now there's two of us. Mm. I'm already losing value here.
Yeah, exactly. You've already got to share the ale.
The next morning, "Moose, I love you, Moose. You're my best friend." And I'm like, okay, well, this is getting out of hand now. A fucking dog. It gets worse. Around lunchtime that day, she has my water bottle. She goes, "I love you, water. You're my best friend." And I'm like, okay, this is fucking ridiculous. I'm losing value faster than the Prussian franc ever did.
You're like a Zimbabwean dollar.
Yeah, this means nothing to me anymore.
We're
Water,
in hyperinflation.
How fast did we go from me being your best friend to your best friend being an inanimate object? Insane. Well, I don't even want to know where Elmo fits into this equation. Because it's got to be higher up than me.
Yeah, do you think Elmo's hit some other higher astral plane than you? On some different level of understanding?
Yeah.
Hinduism?
It's kind of like if somebody asked me who my favorite athlete is, I don't say Giannis Antetokounmpo because it's obviously Giannis. I say the next closest one,
Right.
Nikola Jokic. Yeah. She's also
big on the centers.
She's also been doing this thing lately where it used to be when she wanted attention, she would tell Katie that she needed milk because that was like her way to get one-on-one time with Katie, was to say she needed milk. But then she stopped breastfeeding, and that kind of coincided with us starting potty training. So now we have this weird boy who cried wolf situation where she's like, I have to go potty. But she doesn't fucking have to go. She just wants to hang out with us because she knows one of us is going to take her in there. And I'm like, there's way better places to hang out. Just tell me you want to hang out.
See, you gotta watch out because she's gonna end up a smoker if you don't. It's like the same thing. Just
Right.
like, I gotta go smoke. You want to go shoot the shit for 8 minutes outside?
Right.
Okay.
It's shitty though because the consequences here are literally shitty. Like it's a shit-filled underwear situation.
Right. You kind of
if
have to
call
buy.
her bluff. Like,
Yeah. You kind of have to bite on the juke there.
Yeah. There's no calling her bluff on that. Otherwise, you got a mess on your hands. So
Yeah. It is a bold bluff call. Excuse
yeah,
me.
we are summoned to the bathroom regularly. And there's times we'll get in there and she just kind of looks at you, smiles, and go, I don't. And it's like, oh, you fucking little bitch. We're just hanging out in the bathroom for no reason.
Don't you know this is too hard on my knees at this stage of my life?
Had another funny thing happen recently. I was at my parents' house, and my parents have a Ring camera. Do you have one of those? Do you know how they work?
I do know how they work. We have one that we've been too lazy to install, but yeah.
It's pretty easy. Anyway, if you have the sound on your phone turned on, if somebody comes to your front door, it makes like the sound of wind chimes. Mm-hmm. And so now my parents' dog, anytime he hears that sound, he just freaks out. And it could be anybody. Like nobody even has to knock at the door. But then recently, when I was at their house, we were out back and he heard actual wind chimes. And he lost his fucking mind. He thought there was somebody at the door.
He saw a unicorn, basically. Like, I didn't even know this was a real product.
Yeah. He heard the wind chimes. He's like, that sounds like UPS to me. Yeah. He's just fucking losing it, dude. It was so funny. I don't think good old Pavlov ever thought that it would be applied this way. Like, I don't think he ever thought
that sort of reinforcement on that. Yeah, because in what environment are you outside and there is a door to get there's like another door of outsideness? Like, is this the Truman Show? Is the UPS guy knocking on the cloud somewhere? Because you're in the backyard at that point.
I also like that possibly the least threatening noise on the planet has now trained Barney to be an attack dog.
Oh, it's Barney that's doing it?
Yeah.
See, our dogs have evolved to a very annoying stage where we put them outside when we're going to get a delivery because Rusty tries to basically break through the window. So we put them outside. They see the person still come up the driveway because it's, the shotgun style house, so they can see it. So now anytime we put them outside, they assume somebody's there. It's like, no, just go to the bathroom or like just get out of my face. Like sometimes
Do you
just
need to go potty? What the fuck are you up to?
Yeah, exactly. Who's here? No one. It's fucking 7 a.m., dude. On a Tuesday. There's no one here. But yeah, they've just now it's their version of Boy Who Cried Wolf is just the whole outside is a reflection of possibilities.
That's funny because Moose, he's somehow picked up on the fact that I move with a little more pep in my step towards the door if there's somebody there. So if I ever start moving a little too quickly, Moose thinks it's suspicious.
Right.
And
it's like speed walking.
Nah, dude, I realized I wanted a soda, man. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. We're coming back from commercial break. Somebody's here? No.
Yeah.
Game's starting.
No, it's 3rd and 8.
Yeah.
Fuck out of my face.
Yeah, that's the ultimate. For as much as I love our animals and I love them so much, there are times where just like you just got to get out of my face for a bit. Mm-hmm. Just simply need that.
Speaking of people coming over, I discovered mine recently. What is your worst reason for not wanting to hang out with somebody?
I think the most ironic reason is depression. Because that's like probably your best shot to try to break through. And no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of truly worst reason.
So I have two I could think of right away.
Yeah.
This was not the one that happened recently. I feel kind of bad about this, but one time I found out a guy was vegetarian, and we had talked about we've been talking about like barbecues and stuff, which to me is like meat. There's meat. It's gonna be meat. And then
Portobello mushrooms.
Then I found out he was vegetarian. He's like, yeah, like at the end, it was the first time I met him, and we had a great time. He's like, yeah, let me know about that barbecue, but he just told me he was vegetarian. I just never got back in touch with him.
Well, that's not really a reason. That's a reason to not hang out forever. You've kind of taken it a step further. I think that I don't know if I have any reasons that ever expanded that for like a whole relationship dissolved.
Yeah, just no. No. Which is crazy because I've dated vegetarians.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's really the trigger there. Yeah.
He needed to put out. That's what it was. If he just would have put out, we could have had that barbecue. The other reason was Katie has some people who are like just really good people. Not that you and Ashley aren't, or anybody else that I actually hang out with, but I think you know the people I'm talking about. Like when you're around and you're just kind of like uncomfortable. Yeah. Do you get that at all? We're just like, I don't know if we should be hanging. Like, I don't think you have the thoughts that I have.
Yeah, there's definitely like this is not how the other half lives. Like,
yeah, like the type of people who wake up and like everything nice. Like they don't. Nothing bothers them.
I've always felt the same way about people that asked if I ski or snowboard. Like, oh, you're like from a whole different like crust of society. Like we just don't exist in the same place. And that's cool.
I eat the maple bars at the bottom.
Yes. I have never in my childhood been able to afford a fucking ski lift, but yeah.
Ski lifts are scary as hell.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, whatever excuses I needed to make up to not go. But yeah. Yeah, it's been a while since I can remember truly flaking on something. I can think of really bad reasons that I had for calling in sick to work.
Ooh, they're all good reasons, though.
Yeah, I think I mentioned one time on the show when we lived in Briar, a very small city, somebody won like the $6 million Washington Lotto, and that's where we bought our lotto tickets, and no one had claimed it in like 2 weeks. When I called in sick to work, I was like, I'm going through the recycling. All I needed was a little inspiration to not go in today.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's probably the dumbest individual reason. But of course, like, how many times have I bailed on something because a new video game was rad?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, plenty.
At my last job, I would take actual PTO days for the 2 days after Madden or the show came out. Because I'm like... Yeah, I'm not.
I'm going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to work those days.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to play Madden on the clock. This is really up to you guys. Give me the PTO days or don't. But.
And I have also, my very first time calling in sick to a job was a Packers playoff game.
Oh, that's romantic.
Yeah, that was the last.
Wait, did we win or lose?
We actually won that one because that was, if I remember correctly, that was unfortunately the final Favre ride, I want to say.
I was at that game. I was against the Seahawks.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember because it would have been late 2007, early 2008. So
yeah, it's 2007.
Yeah.
Snowy game at Lambeau. That was a Ryan Grant game.
Yeah. So I did, but I don't know if that really counts as a stupid reason. And then, as you know, I've also increasingly had to take a sick day or call in the day after a concert. It's like I was out till 11 last night. It's just simply impossible.
Yeah, that was another thing. I would always PTO day right after. That was the other thing was I didn't work 5 days a week, both weeks. Like I worked 9 days in a 2-week span, so I could always kind of flex that one day.
Oh, like the 9-9 schedule or whatever they call it.
So
right.
I did that a lot too, but let's see what else I have here. Oh, yes. So I recently got new insurance because Katie's employer is cheap as hell, and they made us go with Aetna. And so anyway,
Too many vowels.
Had to get right. AEI am suspicious.
You're gonna deny my claim.
Yeah. Right.
Fuckers.
So I had to go establish care with a new doctor, which I hadn't done in a long time, and I got asked this doozy of a question: how many drinks do you drink per week? I lied.
Yeah.
by
Naturally.
like a quarter, and my doctor was still blown away. Yep. She was horrified. She's like, "Wow, you really got to cut down." And I was like, "Yeah, I do." Yeah. And in my head, I'm like, "I just need to cut down to the number I lied."
Yeah, let's start with getting to that amount, and then yeah, I mean, you would think that the doctor is the one time in your life where you're supposed to be honest, but it's like, I don't need this shit.
I'm not trying to be judged. Don't be a freaking jerk about it. Tell me I'm gonna die. Okay, calm down. Can't possibly be that serious.
Not a single doctor has known that I have smoked weed, and I've been sucking down a gram of hash oil every 2 days for about a decade. I got so much heavy metal in my fucking lungs, they should make a cartoon about me at this point.
Do doctors get upset with you about smoking weed?
I wouldn't know. I've never told them. It's a complete it's a complete blind spot for me. But I do think that they would probably suggest I don't. I would say that at minimum, but because it was illegal, it's still illegal federally. I don't know how many studies the doctors really have that they can rely on where they're like, well, it's going to do like these 9 things to you. It's like, well, it like could do some bad things to you. I'm sure it is doing bad things to me, but the actual studies proving it are not as thorough as like don't eat McDonald's. We have hundreds of studies to prove that.
There's only so many things that can make you eat 100 pizza rolls in a night.
True. But the thing, my use is so chronic and frankly emotional at this point. I don't even know the last time I got the munchies, so to speak.
Yeah, you don't even get the drunchies. You were completely bizarre to me. Anytime you and I have gotten like truly fucked up.
Yeah. Well, I think
I'm like Popcorn City. I'll go through 3 bags by myself in front of you.
See, it starts to interferes with my ability to drink, and then the other factor there is the I swear my body starts to interpret beer as food, where it's like, well, you've had 8 beers, it's like 1,400 calories, so you're probably good. It's like, I don't think that's how that works, brain.
Skip the sandwich, you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. And this is also usually following like I didn't eat that day because I wanted to be able to get my drunk. So I've had 0 food.
Yeah.
Which is maybe why my body's going, count this as food. This is all that we have for food. Etymology. So we're going to talk a little bit about the etymology of a certain word or thing. And in this case, we are going to talk about pumpernickel. And I'll just start by, for those who don't know what pumpernickel is, it is really low-cost bread. It's traditionally considered a peasant food. Super dense, tends to have a lot of stuff in there that's not just straight-up wheat. But pumpernickel, first, Chris, do you have any guesses where pumpernickel may come from? It's a very weird...
Has to be Germany. Has to be Germany.
That is a great guess, and you are correct. I mean, that many syllables, you've already eliminated like 80%.
Pumper, I knew it was German. You didn't even have to bother with the nickel.
Yeah, so you're right on that part of the origin. Any guesses as to, what a pump might be, or pumper, or do you have any guess whatsoever as to what this bread could be named after?
So because it's super dense, I assume that like pumpernickel is like anything else. It should describe what it is. So
right.
I'm assuming nickel might mean brown, and vice versa. Pumper might mean brown, and nickel might mean dense or something.
Yeah, that is a great guess. And I will say there is not.
Can you pass the dense brown?
That's So you're telling me that this is a food of the poor. You're telling me you couldn't sell the rich on this concept. So I will say you may be right, because this is not one where the etymology is fully 100% determined. But we're quite sure where it came from. So pumpern is a High German synonym for being flatulent. So passing the gas.
Okay. Dense food making you fart.
Yeah, and it's like that part, even though it's silly, that does make sense to me. Like you're describing
so you're
what
already telling me that the name of this food has flatulent in it.
It's definitely it is kind of a warning. It is a bit of a red flag. But then the next part, nickel, is a form of the name Nicholas, commonly associated with a goblin or devil, or more generally for a malevolent spirit or demon. So pumpernickel translates to farting devil or the devil's fart, depending on.
Fart Goblin. You're telling me they named a bread Fart Goblin?
They did. Well, it's either Fart Goblin or the Goblin's fart, right? It's either the man or the fart itself. But yeah, and this is pretty well established. So it's been accepted by the publisher Random House, Merriam-Webster Dictionary, and then the American Dictionary adds, so named for being hard to digest, which sounds like the PG way of trying to frame
Fart Goblin.
it. Yeah.
Oh, they're saying Fart Goblin. Oh, that's good. I mean, hey, we just accept all these words that come from other languages. Oh, yeah, pumpernickel, sure. That must be German. Cool, I guess we'll just use the word. Right. We should be translating these. We should be calling that Fart Goblin. Or the devil's fart.
The devil's fart. Yeah, can you imagine that on like an Ora wheat package? That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, you're reading through a recipe and you got a Fart Goblin.
Yeah, moving forward.
Yeah.
Casually.
Butter, Fart Goblin.
That one is also like, it makes me, I don't think I've ever eaten pumpernickel. Like, it's not really necessarily a sandwich bread.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a bread that you would buy for that purpose. So, as gross as it is to say, I kind of want to test out the fart theory just to see if it's that. I don't consider myself much of a farter, but how fucked up is this bread?
Yeah, that they had to put it in the name.
Yeah.
They could have gone with anything else, but it was so noteworthy. They're like, we have to warn people in the name.
From a bread perspective, this is the fart champion.
And they must be pretty heinous farts if they then went with Goblin.
The devil's
or the devil.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not normal. You would think that you would need, like, from the era, I would think that people just couldn't even fart that bad. Like, I figured that farts have gotten worse with time, kind of like people have just gotten larger.
Well, I mean, also
The
because
farts have gotten
back
worse.
then people didn't really shower. There wasn't deodorant. There was smells abound.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of smells happening.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the big stink on this show.
Yeah, the great stink.
Great stink, you're right.
Cole.
Yeah.
How dare you? For a fart to stick out through all the other smells happening back in the day, that must have been a true horror.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You do have to kind of analyze the broader environment. It reminds me of being at Sasquatch Music Festival and went into a porta potty, and as you can imagine, the porta potties there are not always fit for human use, and at this point, this was my.
As soon as you stepped in, you were transported into another realm.
And at this point, this is my 7th year of going, so I've used many of
You're
these.
a seasoned veteran at this point.
Exactly.
It's not the first Sasquatch bathroom you've seen.
No. And I walked into one, and I immediately walked out. And I didn't say a word, and my buddy was just like, I don't know what he saw in there. But that's a seasoned vet.
That man saw the devil.
He is shaking.
The devil's fart.
Yes.
He's shaking.
It's like the end of 7 where he opens the box and you don't know, but you know. Like I didn't tell them what I saw, but they knew fundamentally what I saw.
Did it have eyes?
It's like the flash frame in The Shining. Yeah, okay. Is it time for headlines, Chris?
I think it is. Everybody knows this is my favorite segment because I want to make sure people are up on current events.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening in the world right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I'm sure that most people are trying to avoid the news, but let's bring it
And there's
on.
a lot happening in the courts, and that's what this first one is about. High court rules calling a man bald is sexual harassment. In a notable legal decision, the UK High Court has ruled that calling a man, quote, bald, constitutes sexual harassment. The judgment arose from a case involving Tony Finn, a 64-year-old electrician who worked for the British Bung Company. Sorry. Bung Company. Good stuff.
The Bung Company.
For 24 years before his dismissal in 2021. Finn alleged that during a heated argument in 2019, so 2 years before he was fired, just for those paying attention at home, his supervisor referred to him as, quote, a bald, which he claimed amounted to sexual harassment. So, bald shaved is basically what.
And we're saying the shaved part's the sexual harassment, not the...
Yeah, not...
Not the vulva.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. So I only said that because to me, if you're gonna make that sexual, you really have to sexualize the word there for it to be anyway. The employment tribunal.
That sounds clinical.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were near a chemical fire. Like, it doesn't sound like anything arousing or anything like that.
To me, you could say that nicely, like, what's up, you bald? Like, that just sounds British to me.
Well, that's probably why they fixated on the bald part being the...
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone can be... Like, a 4-year-old could be... Well, I was being a...
I have to beep out all these anyway, so I'm going to keep saying it. Because the algorithm, anyway. Yeah, I bet you the Brits were like, it's good. Leave that. I don't see any problem with that. But you called him bald. Anyway.
Our empire's already crumbling. Now you're going to call me bald?
The employment tribunal, led by Judge Jonathan Brain.
Okay.
There's a lot of words in
There's
here.
a lot of sexual things.
Determined that such remarks are inherently related to sex, as baldness is more prevalent among men than women. The panel stated, we find it inherently related to sex, thereby classifying the comment as sex-related harassment. This ruling has sparked discussions about workplace conduct. Anyway, that's a stretch.
Yeah, I think that...
This is not what these laws are for. You guys... Like, yeah. we don't need to be protected from being called bald. Also, what are you going to win? Also, who gets that offended about it? This guy's ambulance chaser. That's all I got. This guy's just trying to get money. You were not harassed by the word bald.
If there's like a tall guy at work and you get into an argument, you're like, you fucking inflatable arm man. You know, get out of my face. Why don't you go fucking scrub the ceiling with your fucking hair for a second?
Fuck you,
And then they're like, well, men have a tendency to be taller than women, and therefore... No! First of all...
Tall is inherently sexually...
I know I called him a man, and perhaps that's on me, but I don't know how the tube fella identifies in the first place. Yeah. So...
Good point.
You want to come at me? Listen, it's an electric green color. I don't even know what that... Listen, I operate in blues and pinks. You have a daughter. You understand?
I can't believe this made it to a court.
It does make you understand why the UK is existing in a crumbling state of its former self. You guys are burning energy.
This had to be Saul Goodman's work. There's nobody else. No other lawyer could get that to court. This one also, again, I hate to be so political on the show. Kim Jong-un criminalizes hot dogs in North Korea.
They're starving. You're making food illegal? Okay, do you even have hot dogs? This is like me. This is like me boycotting, the
Great Wall of China.
Like eating at 3-star Michelin restaurants. Like you weren't invited and you can't afford it. So who the fuck gives a shit?
Yeah. I'll summarize this whole thing rather than reading it. He basically criminalized hot dogs because they represent the ideals of basically Americans.
Ideals.
So that's the thing he went for. He had to that's where he wanted to really, really cut us off, is right at the knees with the hot dogs.
I just like ideals. I love hot dogs. I never once considered it part of like my philosophy.
Yeah, I want to find the exact phrasing in here because isn't it to suppress Western cultural influences? Suppressing Western cultural influences. Cultural. Yeah. The hot dog is cultural, Cole.
Yeah, right. That's it's like testing the communists by asking if they...
Because every time I taste a hot dog, I go, culture.
For the culture.
For the culture, yeah. Bucks and six.
When I'm dropping $4 at Costco to get not one, but 2 enormous hot dogs. Yeah, that's a really funny one. And it does speak to... Because how many things get banned before hot dogs when it comes to American culture? Like, I imagine there's no baseball. There's,
right.
No Tom Hanks.
Which
there's
crazy
quite a few.
They love baseball in Korea.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. You would think that would still have a way of like jumping across the DMZ.
Mm-hmm.
All the surrounding nations there tend to play baseball.
I would have thought they would go for like Katy Perry first or something like that.
Yeah, she's already got to be gone. All like the musicians. So yeah, I guess Maybe it was like a slow legislative session, and they're like, well, we got to make the big man happy. You know,
Somebody came in with
something.
a hot dog and somebody got offended, and they're
Yeah.
like, that's fucking criminal.
Yeah. Also, I'm hungry.
Yeah. The premise of a hot dog being criminal, I can't get past. That's amazing.
I would understand it from a manufacturing perspective. Like, what are you putting in here? But yeah, I would.
Actually, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, yeah, hot dogs are criminal. That's
It's-
a good point. Woof. What is in there?
Also, on that topic, could really eat a hot dog right now.
Yeah,
All this hot dog talk.
I don't really get down on the hot dogs. My dad, though,
I was rich
my
hot
dad,
dog man.
pretty healthy guy, like you'd never guess. But if he goes out and does something, like if we go to a sporting event, no matter what it is, hot dogs happening. Happening, guaranteed. We go to a Husky game, hot dog. Kraken game, hot dog. Mariners game, at least one hot dog.
Yeah, I did. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think hilariously enough, it was a concert. I think it was Weezer, but you know, you're sitting way up in the stands, and I was like, well, I don't feel like getting that drunk. I just ate 2 hot dogs, not one, but 2.
Well, wheezing and hot dogs do go together, if you ask me. Hungry sheep devour over 600 pounds of marijuana.
Well, how many sheep? That's my question.
Okay, even if it's 600 sheep, that's still a pound of weed each. That had to be a surprising day. And I've been there with a pot brownie before, where I didn't know it was a pot brownie. I ate one. I was like, that kind of tastes like shit. I took one bite, right? But then the fat guy thing kicks in. Everybody saw me take a bite. I got to finish it. So I finished the thing. A little while later, I start feeling it.
Yeah.
Then I want another brownie. So I ate another brownie, and it's a cycle. That had to happen here. They're like, well, that
Negative
didn't taste
feedback
very
loop.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of hungry, so I'm going to keep going.
You got to secure your weed better. If you're getting fucked by sheep, then you're a bad drug dealer. I hate to say it, but
A flock of sheep in, I'm going to butcher this, Almaros, Thessaly, Greece, found unexpected shelter from flooding caused by Storm Daniel by breaking into a greenhouse and consuming...
breaking in. Hold on, they didn't get fucking crowbars.
Yeah, they were wearing ski
Like,
masks.
dude, you guys like left a door open, and then they walked in. And well, they broke in.
Yeah. Thieves. Consuming 600 pounds of medical cannabis. The animals were taking refuge after the storm, which brought heavy rains and flooding to the central and eastern Mediterranean, impacting countries. Doesn't say anything about the number of sheep, but enough to fit in a greenhouse. So it can't be much, unless it was a humongous greenhouse.
I'm just, they're making these sheep sound like some Wallace and Gromit, like conniving motherfuckers that are all, they had a meeting down at the docks, and then they decided they were going to break in.
That's a good point. It's not a fair the media's already done them in.
Oh yeah.
Like they can't get a fair trial now.
This is your classic. We're calling the white folks survivors in the hurricane. We're calling the black folks looters. We're calling the sheep murderers. They're bottom of the hierarchy
I
here.
don't know what else they would be.
In the racist, prejudiced media, the sheep yet again
I don't
fucked
know.
the hardest.
They are white coal. Okay.
That's-
So I'm not sure what point you're making here.
Who's our president now? Gucci or Greasy, publicly using voice to text to message sensitive information.
I'm going to take the sensitive information part out of it and say it's greasy. It's
The whole
greasy
thing's
the
greasy.
whole way up and down. It's awful. Anybody using speakerphone, it's the same type of deal. Anybody who's like, put your phone up to your fucking ear. What are you doing? What are you doing? Nobody needs to hear this. And you don't need to be holding it here.
But I want to sound like I'm in the bottom of a well. Now, the thing is, when I don't feel like talking on the phone and I'm stuck on the phone, I don't put it on speaker. I just put the phone down.
Mhm.
And then if I can't hear it, then that's just a casualty of my decision. I tune out in the most very real
If my
way.
phone is on speaker, I'm actively doing something else.
Yeah.
That's the only reason for your phone to ever be on speaker or be away from your fucking head.
Yeah.
You're either not using it or you're doing something else and something's happening. Certainly the sensitive information part.
See, I would think, and perhaps I have not tried the technology enough, but text to speech, I think I enunciate to some extent. this shit never works the way I want it to. Never has the punctuation I want. So, and my mom will send me these texts where it's just a wall. There is no
Yeah,
punctuation
at
whatsoever. It's like the fucking second to last chapter of Ulysses. Like, dude, this is insane.
You're telling me that AI can make it so I can make any picture of Jennifer Aniston naked, but I have to say period after every fucking sentence?
Yeah, you can't surmise that there's a comma at this part of the sentence versus that part of the sentence.
Right.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Right.
Well, or we're prioritizing the AI wrong, but
It's for boobs.
let's see. I'm
Clearly.
an English student. I'm saying it's for the commas, but
Well, each their own.
I'll say this: your side's one out.
So far, yeah.
Okay, so that was a quick one. So now we're gonna go on to
We have a new thing.
Yeah.
We have a new segment, and this comes from every year. Baseball season gets kicked off by me and Cole arguing about who I think shouldn't have gotten into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm almost always just being a dick, but it's a nice way to get the season started.
and to remember some guys. It is fun to remember some guys because you're always arguing about players that are between good and phenomenal.
I've basically got one in every sport where I'm like, oh, they should be in the Hall of Fame. But my big two right now, Francisco Rodriguez in baseball, fringe, but should have gotten in before CC, in my opinion. Sterling Sharp in the NFL. Those are my big two.
Yeah, and those are different, but also they have some similarities where the peak is super high and super short. K-Rod, because what was how many?
Not super short. Sterling Sharp set the NFL record for, I guess, 3 years. Yeah, I mean, it was 3 years basically.
Super
That
short
were
in
insane.
the in
but
the
he was
scheme,
great for 8 years.
in the scheme of Hall of Famers. It's quite short. Which, if you're a
didn't have the
closer,
longevity stat padding.
well, and we also know that wideouts have had, in my opinion, a harder time than they deserve to get into the Hall. Like Tim Brown having all those ballots to get in, or Chris Carter. Like at the time Chris Carter got in, he had like the second most receiving touchdowns or third most.
Yeah.
Like at the time of his retirement. Now he's dropped a little further, but it's a notoriously challenging position to get in at too.
Right.
And I think that makes it, kind of bullshit where, yeah, you just see guys fighting and you're like, that guy was so good.
Is Torrey Holt in yet?
I don't. We're
Marvin
not.
Harrison.
Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce are both finalists this year, but I don't think that they've got that far yet. But yeah, both those guys and their numbers, particularly Holt's, still really hold up because Holt has like 12,000 receiving yards, or he's way up there.
Greatest show on turf.
I know, that was a fun ass team. But
So anyway, we decided we're going to have a second lunch Hall of Fame, and I guess this comes with another backstory. We're also going to have basically an anti-Hall of Fame, which I will hereby refer to as the Nets. This was an inside joke with me, Shane, and Cole, which I will now make an outside joke. Basically, the Brooklyn Nets decided a couple years ago to acquire every human being that I fucking despise in the world and trot it out on the court as an actual team. And
Yeah,
so
but-
anytime I hated somebody from then on, I would say put them on the Nets because I had made a joke that if their team plane crashed, I wouldn't care. So that's a little callous, only a little.
Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Zadarius Smith,
Yeah,
now
right.
in net.
Yeah, Donald Trump. Crash the plane. Just crash the plane. So we'll also have the Nets. So we're going to induct some people right now into our Hall of Fame. Maybe we'll come up with some other rules going forward. I thought it might be kind of fun if you or I put in somebody that the other disagrees with to be able to remove them, but in turn the other person also gets to remove somebody you put in. But we'll see. We'll just see going forward. Basically, there's going to be three classes of people. You're in the Second Lunch Hall of Fame, you're on the Nets, or you're in this weird, strange purgatory that is just the hell of being a normal human being.
Where we all exist.
Yeah.
The sweet, sweet middle.
First into the Second Lunch Hall of Fame, Elvis Presley.
I won't argue with it. I've never really listened to Elvis, but I will not argue with it.
What do you have?
I'm going to nominate Mike Finchin on the premise.
Yeah.
So let me back up to
First
Elvis.
ballot, baby.
Because Elvis has given us some material. For Mike, that was the reason, He's probably given us more material than any other outside source. And posthumous induction, he doesn't need the 5-year waiting period.
Yeah.
And I'd say, we were talking about like peak of career. If we talk about the length of time between valuable Mike stories, he's got like a Nolan Ryan type career here. He's got like 35 years.
Sure.
So yeah, that'll be my first nominee. I think is going to be old Mike.
My second is Jeff Gordon.
See, I won't have enough pushback on any athletes. The only thing I'll say is that Jeff Gordon has really not contributed to the show in any meaningful way.
He's contributed to my heart and my drinking.
So this is more like a personal Hall of Fame. See, I was trying to think of things we would both like.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to put
Jeff Gordon is
on
definitely not. Mushrooms. See, I put Salvia on the Nets. Salvia to me has always had the lowest Rotten Tomato meter of all the drugs. Like it's like a late stage Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Jack and Jill.
I also have
Don't mess with the
racists and famine.
Okay. The only one I had for the Hall of Disdain was Hitler for the Nets.
Mine's close. Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, that's what I actually had.
Hitler had a better chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah. He might have been a good coach, actually, but Aaron Rodgers is on the Nets. Other things in the Hall of Fame, Coke Zero.
Oh, yeah, I'll give you that one.
Oranges. I've been eating a lot of oranges lately.
Oranges not... I don't know if I would go Hall of Very Good on that one.
What fruit would you put above an orange?
Strawberry.
Raspberries, too. Berries shouldn't count.
Berries are strong.
Yeah.
Berries, of course, with berries, the one drawback, you do get some duds. You're not going to get the same dud frequency with oranges. I can't even think of a time I opened an orange and was like, that fucking sucked. That didn't work.
That didn't work.
Whereas, yeah, sometimes you get like a piece of stone fruit and you're like, oh man, this was not quite ready for action.
I had an orange the other day because I eat 2 oranges every day now. It's going up with my Coke habit.
Okay.
Sorry, Coke Zero habit. I can't just say Coke habit.
Yeah,
like
cocaine is also on the Nets.
Yeah. I think the 1980s disagrees with you. But I've been eating a lot of oranges lately. I had one the other day that was so fucking good. As soon as I took a bite, I went, holy shit. And Katie from the other room was like, what happened? And I was like still chewing, so I didn't react right away. She'd like, did someone die? And I was like, no, fucking amazing orange.
Yeah, it is funny when somebody reacts to something in a way where you assume like calamity has happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my dad one time when he was at work, and he was, holy fucking shit. I was like, Jesus Christ, like, are you okay? Did you fall off the swing stage? And then I just hear him yelling at his coworker, you see that ass? Like, oh my God, like, was this the most Sofia Vergara walking down your street? And I talked to my brother about it later because my brother worked with my dad for years. That's basically what he said. Is he's like, these guys they're so demented and blue-balled and weird that they're out there like screaming like a cartoon character over like a rural 5, like a city 4. You guys are losing it out here.
Yeah, why are construction workers so horny, man?
My guess would be because if you act that way all the time, it's hard to get laid. It's another negative feedback
really
loop.
Working against themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Turns out yelling, show us your pussy. It's not, in fact, a good way to see some pussy. There's,
That's why you say show me your butthole, because it's kind of funny. And then you can inadvertently see some pussy, too. Oh, I don't like saying the word pussy, man. I feel so gross when I say it. But there's also not a better word. I'm not going to say vagina.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then all the other, like, what are you going to say? Something like snatch? Like, that doesn't even sound sexual.
Show me what
you were saying.
What you got down there.
You were saying earlier. Like, does anybody use that term sexually in their lives?
Okay.
So anyway.
I'll say it. Anytime somebody does use that in the bedroom, instantly popping. It's going to happen right away. Because I'm like, oh, you can't say that. Completely lose it.
What, like they're doing an Andrew Dice Clay thing or something? Like, oh, man.
If anybody makes me come, it's Andrew Dice Clay.
That's too hot for TV.
But I know I can't say it because it's like people here get really offended by that word. It doesn't bother me at all, but it does offend some folks. So I don't say it. Yeah. Typically. This is all going to be beeps on the podcast anyway. So.
Especially not in the context of a sexual experience.
Who else do you have for the haul? Was that it?
Okay, I've got a couple more. I've got my Elvis equivalent will be Chris Cornell.
Yeah, done, easy.
And then my one Packer that I will throw in there is James Jones.
Holy shit, I didn't have a Packer on here.
I didn't want to go too hard with the Packers, but I needed the hoodie. James Jones just felt right. And I didn't want to choose a guy that was like a real Hall of Famer either. Like you mentioned Sterling Sharp. Like that guy's he will be in at some point. He
doesn't need to be in ours.
He's gonna be in the real deal. Whereas James Jones, I love you, man, but he ain't getting in the Hall.
Nick Collins.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
The last one I have is The Office.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's a big part of the sleep TV rotation. So,
can we talk about that, or are we gonna make that Gucci or Greasy for the next episode when Ashley comes?
That's gonna be when Ashley's on.
All right, love it. Our next episode. We still got some time, but our next episode we're gonna have Ashley on. I'm excited. I've got a couple things up my sleeve.
I will say, okay, before we jump on, last Hall of Famer, I'm gonna throw Yachty or Molina in there.
Oh, god damn it! You're putting in a Cardinal before I even get a Brewer in.
Well,
Classic Cardinals.
I figured that if you put in Ryan Braun, we'll probably just kill each other, and then both will be out.
No, Braun's not going in, but Ricky Weeks is going in twice.
I was going to say I won't fight you on Ricky. So, we're going back a little bit in time here. January 9th, 1693, Sicily earthquake. First of two earthquakes destroys parts of Sicily and Malta. After the second quake on the 11th of January, the death toll is estimated at between 60 and 100,000 people. Do you live in fear of the big one, and do you think it will happen in our lifetimes?
I think about it all the time. I remember when that article came out in, what was it, 2013 or whatever, when they're like, oh, basically, we're 140,000 years overdue for the next big earthquake, and everything from the I-5 corridor to the water is going to be destroyed from Canada down through, I think into Mexico. And I was like, oh, I'm moving to the Midwest. I would rather deal with tornadoes.
Those are guaranteed coming every year, though.
Yeah. But now I'm rolling the dice, dude. I'm not a gambler. You know me. I don't gamble.
We do have a real spooky boogeyman of sorts, compared to sort of an annual threat of a hurricane or a tornado.
Yeah, a whole lot of shit going on.
I remember when I was in high school, them doing the earthquake retrofitting stuff, and they're putting in big ol', basically stapling two parts of the building together with a big piece of steel, and me going,
not much you can do for an earthquake, man. Stop, drop, and roll. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Just watch shit shake and just wait for the end. Yeah, I do. I think about it somewhat frequently. I don't think it'll happen in our lifetimes. But thank God I live in the Rambler if it does.
Anytime I'm on I-5, I think about it just because of that article.
Because you're like, well, if I'm on this side of the road, am I going to fall into the ocean or?
Yeah, I'm changing lanes.
If I'm driving,
I'm getting over one more lane.
If I'm driving northbound, am I cool?
Yeah,
because I'm further inland.
Yeah, it's weird that the earthquake just decided it was only gonna why did it make I-5 the deciding?
Last thing it said was fuck Eisenhower and fuck the freeway system. All right, so next one here, and you kind of already alluded to this. January 11th, 1569, first recorded lottery in England. Do you play the lottery? Do you gamble at all?
I technically do gamble. So I like the slots and stuff like that. I just can't, man. I get the lights are shiny and it draws you in, like a moth to flame. But no, I can't. I'll do sports betting. I do pretty well at that. Problem with me sports betting, the best I ever did was when Paul Hornung died. I thought the best way to honor the man who got suspended for gambling was to gamble in his name. So I bet $5 his jersey number on the Packers that week. They won, and I was like, I'm going to keep it rolling. We went 13-3 that year. From that bet on, we didn't lose a game until the NFC Championship game, which at this point I'm $800 up. We're playing the Buccaneers at home. I'm like, Tom Brady can't do it in the NFC, baby. Yeah. We got this. So, like I'd been doing this whole time, I bet the whole amount on that game and lost all 860 or whatever it was, and blacked out, got in a fight with Katie over noodles, I think.
Noodles.
And, was asleep by 9 p.m.
Folly a man right there.
So no, not a big gambler. Not a big gambler.
I do like to gamble, not as much as Ashley. Ashley's a bigger gambler. The form of gambling that I do, though, even though it makes sense to me, tends to make a lot of the people around me sick. Because I will wander around.
What, cockfights?
Yeah, exactly. Dog fighting.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. How morally repugnant.
No, I'm betting on the pit bull.
Fucking chalk. I will wander around the casino floor for like 57 minutes out of each hour. And then for 3 minutes, I will put $100 into a slot machine, bet the max, and then see what happens.
Oh, my God. That is insane. What happens?
Oh, usually bad stuff. But if you're doing it that infrequently, it doesn't actually... I just don't gamble. Like, if I'm spending... Let's just say I'm in some hellscape. I'm like on the casino floor 6 hours. There's a good chance I'll do 30 minutes or less of real gambling there. Now...
Oh, my God.
I do play table games sometimes, and that's different. So if I'm playing 3-card poker, that's going to be more consistent. And then sometimes I do the sportsbook betting too. But
this 3-minute idea is the most stressful thing I've ever heard of, and it reminded me.
Yeah, I've lost $100 in 45 seconds before.
Oh my God! I can't.
You just take an hour to reflect, and then you get back on the horse.
You mean 57 minutes? I remember I've been to a lot of casinos and not gambling because I'm doing comedy at the casino, which is the worst fucking possible thing you can do. I'm sure I've talked about it on the show before, so I'm not going to get into why. But I remember after my set one time, I was going to hang out with the headliner. So while they were on, I had seen him so many times before I didn't feel like watching him at a casino, which again is the worst possible setting to see comedy. So I went and wandered around, and I remember kind of seeing this guy who I only locked onto him because he was just like meandering. He was just kind of wandering around, like the type of wandering where you're like jiggling the change in your pocket, where it's like you're so committed to the wandering that it's like almost it's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not... Like most people wander while, like, other stuff's going on. Like, they're doing other things. No, this guy was wandering. That was the thing he was doing. And he would just go up to a machine, and he had one of those little cards. He would just kind of, like, put it in the machine, hit the thing, walk away before it was even fucking done. Like, he knew he lost. I was like, I don't know how much money you just... But you're not even enjoying watching all the lights and the... He just, boom, he walked away. He's onto a different machine. Like, he knew he wasn't going to win. Anyway, it was just the craziest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. It was like the thing he was enjoying was I have less money now.
Yeah. That's clinical depression.
Fuck, dude, it was nuts. That was the most stressful thing I had ever even thought of until your 3-minute situation. That's crazy.
All right, we've got 3 more questions here. Up next, since we were talking baseball, let's keep it going. January 11th, 1973, Major League Baseball owners vote in approval of the American League adopting the designated hitter position. How do you feel about that?
Fuck that shit, man. I hate that. I don't like that baseball's all designated hitter now. I get that it's... I'm arguing my own point here. I get that it's better for the game. It's more fun to watch for the average person who doesn't give a shit. But we lost so much in terms of strategy when we took the pitchers out. Also, how much more fun was it when Felix Hernandez hit a fucking grand slam off Johan Santana? When you see a pitcher actually come through in those situations,
it is fun.
It is so much more fun than watching Albert Pujols hit 225 for the Angels the last couple of years. Like, it's lame. I liked it better when it was half the league because it was like quirky and like, it was more interesting. And I mean, it has a long history of, I mean, the American League was dying, and that's why they adopted it, because attendance was so far down. They're like, we need to score more runs. Let's add more hitters. I understand why it happened, and that the American League being the only league with the designated hitter existed for way longer than we've had both leagues having it now. So it's going to take some adjusting, and I liked it. I just liked it overall. But
yeah, I like the strategy. I mean, this is what baseball's sort of done, right? It's like increasingly gotten rid of strategy, whether via rules or via changes in
they're trying to make
the way
it
the
more
game's
quote
played.
watchable.
Yeah, like getting rid of the the defensive shift, or really kneecapping it. Say what you want about what it did, strategy-wise, that you purely removed a strategy thing strictly for it was making the game too hard for some guys.
I need Jay Bruce to get more hits.
Well, Ryan Howard can't hit it the other way. Well, then fuck him.
Exactly.
Then he can fuck off with his $200 million, and somebody else can fucking slap the ball and have Placido Polanco play first. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, but I do understand where it's like that really came up so quickly, but like. It changed the game so fast that people's like whole careers changed overnight. So, but still, they got rid of that because of the focus on the 3 true outcomes. You don't see nearly as many like steals, and they made the bases bigger and they did things to increase that. But still, compared to 40 years ago, like the small ball stuff, trying to bunt a guy over, trying to get a guy onto third with less than 2 outs,
well,
that
and
kind
then
of
the pitch
shit.
clock, man. That's the other thing is like I think the thing that people who don't like baseball are missing about the sport is how much is happening between the ears that you don't see. There's a lot to think about in between pitches. And now when you're like, okay, well, now you have 10 seconds or whatever. I think it's 20.
You can also only check over to first 3 times now.
Right.
So
right. Which I kind of get.
Yeah, I get all of it makes sense, but it's all of it is removing strategy.
Gucci or
Each
Greasy?
one of those removes strategy. Oops.
Gucci or Greasy booing the pickoff move.
Dude, fucking booing in general is like almost always Greasy.
Yeah.
I have booed so few times in my life, and it was always after somebody did like something truly shit ass, or the Zebras just completely fucked something up.
Yeah, outside of that Monday
booed
night
like 4
not
times.
catch that was here, and Aaron Rodgers one time at Lambeau Field, I think with you actually. I've only booed one time, and Cameron Lowe gave up like 8 runs in an inning. In August of 2011.
That's a way better boo than some of the like 8 runs, and yeah, dude, you're getting booed. You earned. That is earned. But no, like I've seen people boo fighters and stuff before, and like not to make that sport sound, all of it. It's all competition.
Yeah.
It all requires a lot of training and
the
all that
pickoff
shit.
move strategy. Booing strategy is so dumb.
Yeah.
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
It's also why I can't stand the Phillies in general. Their fans boo more than
well,
I was
Philly
going to
fans
say
always the worst.
The pitch clock though has been kind of funny because mostly people have been able to adapt to it. Outside of one guy, do you remember when Alek Manoah was like really good?
Yeah,
And he's kind of a big chubster.
Yeah,
and I think he's just kind of getting tired out there. He's tuckered out. And so he just gets lit up after like the second inning.
I didn't know if it was like fucking with his, because I completely agree. I've seen the numbers before and after, but I didn't know if it was something where he was getting out of his, getting out of the box, so to speak, in terms of his wind up and like the mechanics.
He's just tuckered out, man. I think he's tired.
Jesus, dude.
Big sweaty guy.
CeCe just got into the Hall. Could CeCe have pitched like at his biggest in the Brewers?
Right.
No, the Brewers days he was still like, but
when he got to New York and started like drinking and got pretty big,
like well over 3.
Who knows? But you remember Mark Burley? He was kind of a big dude, and he was throwing the ball before he even got it back from the catcher. I swear.
That guy threw a perfect game too, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, last 2 questions. January 12th, 1969, the New York Jets of the American Football League defeat the Baltimore Colts of the National Football League to win Super Bowl III in what is considered one of the greatest upsets in sports history. What is the craziest upset you have ever seen? Feel free to name something that predates you if you want to. I did phrase it as that you've seen, but
I'm gonna have to think about this. You should go first.
So, I have a couple that for this one. So I think the craziest upset I ever saw live for a team sport where I really didn't foresee that outcome. no matter how many times would be played out. I was really surprised by Giants versus Patriots in 07.
Right.
And I get it. And of course, hindsight 2020, I recognize the Giants' ability to generate pressure off the 4-man rush with that particular squad was special.
Still Strahan.
Absolutely.
And
there's
Osi Umenyiora
and they had played them really well in week 17 too. Because the Patriots were still trying to win because they wanted the undefeated season, and the Giants were actually trying to win to improve their playoff seeding and shit like that. And it kind of came down to it. But still, with the way the Patriots, with the way they were winning some of those games, I think they won 3 different games by over 50, and they won a lot of other games by 30. I mean, the margin by which they were defeating their competition in the regular season, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
Even in 15-1 seasons, I know there's not an undefeated to compare it to, but the Chiefs or something, they've had some great seasons. They always have a bunch of close games. They always look vulnerable. That Patriots team to me looked impossible.
Yeah, nails.
The one thing I'll say before I turn the floor over to you, it's that in the fight game there have been a couple crazy ones. And statistically there have been crazier ones than team sports. But the reason that I'm sort of hesitant to name one of those is that any sport where you got, 4-ounce gloves or something, a lot can change in a way that's different from a football game. But I was watching live when George St. Pierre lost the title, and I was watching live when Lil Nog lost to Sokaju, and that was a plus 2,500. He was a 25-1 dog, which is way bigger than I think that Giants were. And then going back to, something I didn't get to see live, when Tyson lost to Buster Douglas, he was 42-1, and some casinos had it as high as 70-1.
Jeez.
So if you had bet 100 bones on Buster Douglas that night, you walked away with $7,000.
Holy shit. I don't know if I have anything like that, and I'm actually going to change this to what I've seen in person, because I've seen some good upsets in person, because I know I'm going to forget something that's going to bother me later.
Fair enough.
If it's because I actually think you nailed it with Patriots losing to the Giants undefeated season. I think that is probably the biggest one I can think of off the top of my head. My favorite is the year the Bucs won the championship, them beating the Nets in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
I thought we had no fucking chance winning that series, and I mean, again, that's a series, so that's a little different. But I've seen two good upsets I've seen in person I could think of. I saw the Huskies beat Michigan in person this year. That was cool. I was also at the Beast Mode game when the Seahawks beat the Saints the year after they won the Super Bowl.
That is a special one.
There were a lot of salty Saints fans after that game.
Yeah,
man.
they travel
we shouldn't
well.
even have to fucking come here.
Isn't it funny that the 2-7-9 teams that have made the playoffs both won their first game? They're 2-0 in week 1 of the playoffs. That's
Meanwhile, the NFC North sent 3 teams to the playoffs this year and went 0-3.
That's the funny thing too. Is now that we have 14 teams, you are going to see, in theory, more losing. It's still not going to happen very often, but that opens the door for another 8-9 team to somehow sneak in out of the NFC South or whatever.
I really liked watching the Vikings lose because they're my least favorite franchise, maybe in all of sports.
See, I've got too much family in Minnesota. Our guy Tyler and stuff.
But watching the Lions lose was really funny.
Yeah,
their fans have been so obnoxious this year.
I've never met a Lions fan in my life, and I don't do anything on the internet that would expose me to any. So it's honestly that is a complete mystery to me. It's
look up.
They're like Oompa Loompas.
Go up on the internets and look up what Lions fans are doing to Minnesota fans when they played each other in Detroit a couple weeks ago.
I just remember those Lions fans eating ass in the crowd.
Yeah, and leaving with 8 minutes left. Very Seattle of them.
I'm done eating ass.
Okay, I've never agreed with that.
January 13th, 1968, Johnny Cash performs live at Folsom State Prison. What do you consider to be the greatest live performance ever, other than the Giants beating the Patriots?
Oh, well, yeah.
Just talking shit.
What was it, Live Aid, Freddie Mercury?
Oh, yeah, that is...
Well, Queen, but... Specifically, incredible vocal performance.
Yeah, his vocal performance on Radio Gaga is extremely good. And then Bohemian Rhapsody as well. They did like 4 songs, but those two stand out in my mind as very strong vocal performances.
Are we talking like a performance, like a show, or like a single song?
Oh, just whatever. I was just going to name. I was probably just going to name. I was going to name a single song and a single specific performance.
More Than a Feeling, Boston, for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Is there a specific like show they do it at that they did particularly well that you like?
Go on YouTube, type in Bradley Delp live. The videos are crazy. That guy had the craziest voice I've ever heard.
I think mine would be the. There's like like sometimes I want a really good vocal performance and I'll choose this thing and blah, blah, blah. There's a bunch of different answers. But the one that I'm thinking of right now, I'm going to go with Fleetwood Mac doing Silver Springs live in 1997 when Stevie Nicks is just staring daggers through Lindsey Buckingham. Because it's really well performed, but it's also like the meaning of the song is clashing in real time with the way that the band members are interacting. It's a rare performance in that regard. Like doesn't feel like it's just the song.
Yeah.
So that one comes to mind, but it's a tough question because I could probably answer this question like 50 different ways depending on the mood I'm in. I was trying to
think of a Blues Traveler performance too, but I couldn't remember where it was or when for that matter. But
yeah.
Support live music, live arts, actually, stand up as well. Definitely, I love live music.
Yeah, like I mean, I could also like just as easily argue Stevie Ray Vaughan at Montreux Jazz Festival in 1982. It's incredibly strong performance in front of a fairly ambivalent crowd that wasn't totally ready to hear like Southern blues rock, but very, very strong. But of course, I'm in a different mood when I'm playing that versus Silver
Stevie
Springs.
Ray Vaughan, coolest name of all time?
I think it's up there. And
I think you have to have 3 names for sure.
You're either in a band or you're killing a president. You know, these 3 names mean business.
Preferably in a band.
But yeah, that very strong name, very strong guitar player, crazy cokehead, got clean, helicopter took him out.
In Wisconsin.
Motherfucker.
Did the helicopter take him out or did the ski hill?
Oh, fair enough. That's a fair distinction.
Nobody would have anticipated a ski hill in Wisconsin. Come on.
It's like the fucked up. It's the same way Sam Kinison died, where it's like, oh, you finally got clean and then you die in a car accident. You know,
dumb.
Yeah. God damn it.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Shouldn't have gone clean. JK. I think that's it for us.
I think so.
Episode 4 in the books. Next episode, we're gonna have Cole's other half on. I'm excited. It's going to be the next in our line of episodes where we have guests that are not comedians. That's been way better, in my opinion. No offense to the comedians we've had on.
No, you shit on them.
But
you shit all over them.
Actually, fuck comedians.
Don't support the live arts.
At least don't go to live comedy. It's just felt a little bit more natural, and it's been really fun. I felt like I've got a little bit more room to maneuver. We also have some great comedians coming on this season. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for listening. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok's back, baby. It's actually not that exciting, but Twitter, X, for our food thoughts. And Jordan, love you all. Bucks and 6.